Hey, what's up? Today we're going to talk about some of the new features from Ableton 12.1 and how we can use them in a cool way on our music. So let's jump into it right now. First, we have the new drum sampler, which is pretty similar to Simpler and Instrument Rack. It's a new device with the usual sampling controls that we can use specifically for one-shot elements, plus some really cool new effects that are attached that we can even modulate in a cool way. All of the sounds that I'm going to use for this demonstration are from samplefocus.com. Let's see some examples with this classic cowbell that we all know. So you have the basic controls: start, length. If we decrease the hold, we can control the tail with this decay. And then we have different modes like trigger, which means that I just play one time and it's going to play the whole sample. And then we have gate. I have to lower the decay for this. The sample is only going to play as long as we press a key. And then we have the effects. By default, the first one is going to be stretch, and it's one of my favorites. We have like the amount of grains on this side, and on this side we have kind of how much. A lot of different combinations. So as you can see, we have a lot more of effects. I'm not going to be covering all of them, so you can go and explore. Just a brief overview. We have loop, and we can select when does it starts to loop and how long the loop is going to be. Pretty nice too. Pitch envelope, which I love for everything. So we get like this attack. So as you can see already, we get a ton of different possibilities and sounds with a few clicks. I am absolutely loving this new drum sampler. We can even turn like pretty basic samples into completely different sounds. For example, this sound doesn't have a lot of personality, it's just a little perk. But if we choose the noise, we can kind of turn it into a hi-hat or a snare. And then we can use the filter. I wanted to explain this modulation thing. Let's use this sound as an example. So the modulation basically works in a cool way, which is using this velocity information. Let me show you. Let's make a simple clip. Instead of changing this manually, what I'm gonna do is grab a velocity from the MIDI effects, so we can randomize the velocity of each note. We get different volumes each time, and that's what this picks up to do the modulation. We can modulate the filter, attack, hold, decay, and then the effects. If I select FX2, that is going to be modulating this stretch. So if I increase this, you're gonna notice that with each different note that has a different velocity, we get different results from the effect. It's basically like if we were moving this manually or with an LFO or an automation. So you can have like a very nice organic sounding whatever loop in like a few seconds, just playing around with this. So we can do this with all of the effects. With FM is pretty cool because we get all the time like different frequencies, and I love the result. My favorite part, actually, I saw it on the Ableton website when I was reading about this device. I saw a video they featured where they explained how to actually make this the default on the drum rack. So when you throw an empty drum rack and you start adding sounds, the default sampler here, it's going to be this. To do this, you need to first grab a drum sampler, and then we need to go to User Library, Defaults, drop in samples here. And as you can see, I have the drum sampler here. So what you have to do is basically throw this into the on drum rack, and that is going to make it the default for your drum rack. I really recommend this. Okay, next we need to talk about the biggest thing on this update, which is the Autoshift. Finally, we have Ableton's own pitch correction device or Autotune or whatever you want to use it for. I've used a lot of different Autotune plugins. A lot of them I don't like, to be honest. They give me a lot of problems, especially for live performances. And this Autoshift, it has everything that I could want on a pitch correction device. So we have the standard. We can select the scale that we want to work in, but we can also work with a scale from our project. So imagine that we have a scale established. We can click here and that's going to make it fit into that scale automatically. So we have everything in our song on the same scale. And also we can select manually, or more like deselect the notes that we don't want and leave the ones that we do want. So that's pretty nice too. I'm gonna show you how it sounds in a second. You know, I don't sing. This smooth option is basically a way of making the change from each note less harsh, less auto-tuney, and if we deactivate it, it's going to be full 100% auto-tune hardcore. And then we have our usual format shifting,
which is pretty clean.
Sounds cool.
I like it. We can change the pitch as well, and we have this vibrato. Which is pretty nice.
My favorite thing is definitely this MIDI in. This works similar as a vocoder, but not really, because when you are using a vocoder, we are controlling one sound with another sound, and in this case, we are only going to feed this MIDI information. We don't need to feed this as sound. So let me look for a cool chord progression. Okay, like this. So we can select MIDI on, input from. I'm going to select my chords, and as you can see, I don't have any sound here, just this MIDI clip. Right now, if I hit play, it's going to sound weird because it's on mono, so this is for just one note. But if we hit poly, we can select the amount of voices. In my case, I'm going to select 8. Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. You can perfectly understand what I'm saying.
And we can change the result and play with how we talk.
Basically, we can turn ourselves into a synth. I think it's more to do harmonies for your vocals. If you're a singer, I am not, so I'm going to use this more as an instrument. We also have LFO to modulate different parameters. I haven't tried this yet, but we can modulate, for example, the format.
It sounds pretty cool.
It's simple. It does what you want it to do, and it does more with this MIDI thing. It's super fun for composing and coming up with different harmonies and stuff. I love it. Lastly, I just wanted to cover like a really useful thing. Let me do this example. Let's imagine that we have like this pattern in which we have very loud notes and then like more quiet ones here. So imagine we want to modify all of the quiet ones. Normally what you will do is come here and hold shift and select all of them one by one, which in this case, it doesn't seem like a big deal because it's a very short clip. But sometimes we have like a very long chord progression or whatever, you know, anything, then it starts to get more annoying. What we have now is this magnifying glass thing, and we can kind of filter notes by different conditions. For example, if we select velocity, we can select a minimum and a maximum value. So if we decrease this maximum value, you can see that suddenly the only notes that are selected are the ones between 1 and 80. So we can select and do whatever we want to do with them. For example, increase the volume or move them around. I've only played with velocity and pitch. So in pitch is basically the same, but with different notes. So if we had this here, for example, we can select D and then move all of the D to E. And if we don't like it, then we can select E and move that a little bit up. So we can select multiple ones like C and D and move all of those. This is super useful. The past couple days that I've been trying 12.1, I've been using this the most. Honestly, it surprised me how much I needed this and I didn't know. So yeah, we have different things here that I haven't tried. Be my guest to try them and see if one of those fits more into your workflow. I'm going to leave it here because I don't want this video to be that long. But if you want to see me cover more from this, because there is more, we have the new limiter, we have new saturator. So if you want to see that, make sure to let me know. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Let me know that you enjoyed this video. Samplefocus.com. You get 3 credits every week to download any 3 samples that you want. There is no reason to not go and check out samplefocus.com and get 3 samples right now. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.
It sounds pretty cool.